We need to acknowledge, as we go through COVID, when we have made mistakes. This government made, I think, a grave mistake in the spring when we made, frankly, I think a stupidly arbitrary distinction between essential and non-essential retail businesses that had the unintended consequence of allowing Walmarts and Costco's to sell darn near everything because they have a grocery section or they sell pharmaceuticals, while shutting down thousands and thousands of retail small and medium-sized businesses. I talked about the fifth generation family in my remarks with this running a store in rural Alberta. 100% of their business went to the big U.S.-owned box store down the street, or of course online, for 10 weeks because of that, frankly, stupid mistake that we made, for which I apologize. We tried to undo that as quickly as we saw realized it and saw the impact. But we are not doing that now, unlike other provinces that have done that. And we are putting a capacity limit because we have to do some things to limit general social and community transmission. And we've always said that we would address this as the situation unfolded. You ask, why aren't we taking even more stringent measures? The answer is we are trying to bend down the curve. Alberta is not involved in a chase after zero because, in our view, the broader consequences for the health of our society would be intolerable. To try to get to zero with a widespread shutdown. I point to jurisdictions that promise circuit breakers for 2 weeks that 3 and 4 months later are still in unprecedented and extraordinary shutdowns of broader social and economic activity with massive impacts on the health of those societies, on mental and emotional health, on physical health, on people's ability to earn a living, and on so much more. Not to mention, by the way, in so much of the debate, where have we forgotten about the Charter of Rights and Freedoms? Since when should governments start with an impairment of fundamental charter-protected rights and freedoms rather than engage in such an impairment as a last and final resort? The charter jurisprudence is very clear about this, that if governments are to impair charter rights, it must be a minimal impairment to achieve a policy goal. So that too has informed our approach. I will repeat, I believe that people who are recommending so-called lockdown policies, I'm sure, are doing so in good faith and that they are well-intentioned. Let me, however, say this. I would ask people who have the certainty of a paycheck, particularly a government paycheck, to think for a moment about those individuals whose entire life savings are tied up in businesses such as that. I would ask them to think about the 175,000 people who work in that industry, disproportionately women. I would ask them to think about the impact on those lives. I would ask them to think about the data from the Canadian Federation of Independent Business and Restaurants Canada, which indicates that, based on surveys, as many as 40% of our 13,000 restaurants and hospitality businesses might not be able to survive a second shutdown. So I think for some, perhaps it's a little bit easy to say, just flick a switch, shut them down. But, I can tell you, a couple of weeks ago, I was in my constituency at a kind of little food court thing, and a new Albertan, a refugee from Venezuelan socialism, came up to me. She had just opened a little food kiosk. She recognized me. She came up to me, and she broke down in tears in front of me, saying, "Sir, I've put my entire life savings as a refugee into this little business, I've just opened. We're struggling to pay the bills. If you shut me down, I'm going to lose it all, everything, and I'll be in abject poverty. So you tell me what the health consequences are for that woman and her family. So I think we need to be a little more balanced in the way that we discuss these things.